Well, and it's important to point out, if we differ a little bit, we should default to my opinion as being right, because I did finish Faction Wars 2 weeks before you, so we're gonna have to.
No, that's a big mistake. I actually finished it 4 weeks before you.
Oh, come on! Now I know you're lying. Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a collaboration and discussion with my good friend Cold Brew. We are going to try to iron out what is the easiest to toughest faction to clear in Faction Wars. We are going to both individually rank them on our own without talking. Then we're going to have a discussion about our individual lists. And then at the end, I'm going to combine them into one list using both of our opinions and kind of average out to see if we can get a consensus decision between the two of us. And then we'll talk about how that turned out. So it's going to be kind of a long form discussion about the different difficulties of the factions and how they compare to each other. So let's get into it. Alrighty, now joined by Cold Brew. Hey, what's up, friend? How you doing?
I'm good, man. What about you?
You know, can't complain. Another day in the raid community is always exciting, as you know. So we've got a fun one here. We're gonna similar to the last video. It's fun to kind of bounce perspectives off each other. We talked about some of the different champions in Doom Tower that have gotten stronger, or some of the champions that have been kind of pseudo buffed by the release of the Doom Tower, and that was a fun one that went pretty well. So I thought we would dive into grading the factions from toughest to easiest in terms of how likely a player can feel about their chances to clear them and stuff. So let's go ahead and just we'll pull up the index, and I'll let you start at your easiest. We're not going to do Shadowkin. By the way, we haven't seen each other's list. I didn't do Shadowkin, but you didn't either, right?
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, if I did, it would be at the toughest one because it's not even out yet.
Yeah.
So it's not even in there. And like, before we go into this, it's just everybody has different champions. So this is not like an absolute list, but in general, it should be, like a consensus of what everybody thinks, I guess, or at least us two with the communities that we have and getting everybody's thoughts through streaming, through YouTube comments and everything. So my list, the easiest one in my list, I have High Elves.
Okay.
As the easiest one.
We agree.
So
I think, okay, just my general overview, I think we're going to agree on the two easiest and the two hardest. It's the ones in the middle that I think are going to kind of get jumbled a little bit.
See there, I don't think we might agree for the hardest one. I think we might be close, but I don't think we'll agree there. But I think the easiest one was an easy to think of, just because of Arbiter, I would say, and Apothecary. It makes it easy. Just go through the great supports, both of them, and then you just add three champions and slowly go through it.
Reliquary Tender, Apothecary, they have good cheap options. Elaine, then moving into the epics, you've got Vergis, Thanasil, Tyrell, Royal Guard, Battle Sage, and then the legendaries, you get Arbiter for your missions. Yeah, they've got lots of good options. And the boss itself is pretty accessible. So yeah, we agree there. So
pretty easy boss.
Yep, I'll let you dive into number 12.
Number 12 in terms of how easy, I would say Barbarians.
I'd already clicked on it before you even said it. See, I told you we would have the same first two, but I'm gonna guess you're gonna say because of Syl and the pretty accessible faction war boss.
Yeah, I would say Seal, and because I've done it with Seal and Shield Guard, so I didn't need any other champions to do it. To do 21, I did a video on that, so I think it's totally doable. I didn't even have that insane of gear on them. I do have the Great Hall, which is of course a great advantage, but just Seal and a good champion like Shield Guard with a stun set can get you through the waves, and once you reach the boss, it's just slowly chipping away and taking it down. It's nothing too special with the tactics on it.
Yep, and for the stun set, we've had Soulbond Boyer added to the game about 7 months ago. got the
Right.
AoE A1, decent candidate for the stun set, and they also added Syl. So yeah, they've really beefed up the Barbarians from the login reward and some of the rares, and War Maiden, one of the best rares in the game, marked really like. So yeah, Barbarians was also my number 12. So we are in lockstep agreement so far. Let's see if our paths diverge at number 11. Who you got?
Okay, number 11, I have Ogrin Tribes.
Oh yeah, we diverged there. Okay.
Just through the looks of your face, I think you had them way down the list. But what I want to say here is, just because we've got Grush, the Mangler, he's a free-to-play accessible champion. He's a really good sport. If you can manage to book him and get a Bellower in there as well, you can probably go through the waves quite easily. And it's gonna take time, but a Bellower and a Grush can probably take you through the whole thing. And I think Stu did a video on that, if I'm not mistaken. But Grush makes it much more accessible than people think. So I would say it's much easier than everything else. What do you where did you have Ogrin Tribes, or
No,
what did you have on I guess?
Yeah, we didn't know.
11.
I had Lizardmen at 11. But like no, I had Ogrin kind of low as well. So we're not off too much. But that was just our first one. We diverge. But yeah, I had Lizardmen at 11. Where did you have Lizardmen?
I had Lizardmen on, well, way down the list, man. I have him.
Oh, you have him as one of the hardest ones.
5. Yeah, 5 before the end. So I think number 8.
Oh
no, number 7.
Okay. No, that's not.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not too much different because 7 and 11. But yeah, no.
Mhm.
So, like, I agree with you on Ogrin. Like the addition of Grush was crazy good. Shamrock is very undersold. Really good support. Bellower in a stun set. One of the best strategies. So yeah, I can get on board with what you're doing there with Ogrin. What is your number? So, and then that was your 11. What's your number 10?
This one, I had a bit of difficulty with this, going from easier to mid tier difficulty. I had Undead Hordes.
Okay.
Undead Hordes for that one, just because of champions like Gorgrab. Had Seeker in there. We have also Dark Elhain in there, who just definitely helps you go through it. We've got Seducer from the rares. We also have Doomscreech, who is good for defensive buffs. Yeah, and with all those, I just put them as number 10. What did you have?
I had at number 10 was Sacred Order, but for Undead, I had Undead in the top 3 actually. I had Undead at number 3, mainly because of the red boss. Like my top 5,
right?
My top 5 are all the red boss and the purple boss. The purple boss that swaps all the buffs and debuffs, and then it does the HP exchange. So you have to deal with that while also bringing enough damage to take it down. And then also some of the waves you have to deal with later, but we'll get into that when we get into the top. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, and I think that my opinion on this one might have been, a bit different than others because of how many legendaries this faction has. And I mean, for a player of my, playing for 2 years, I had many of the legendaries, so it wasn't that tough for me to progress through it. And then once I reached to the boss stage, it was easier than I thought. So maybe that's why I didn't have it so high in the list as you. Of course, you had the same legendaries, but you might have thought of it more generally than I did. So we can find the evidence.
I think I think the honest truth is I think you finished like 2 weeks before me. I think.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Because we were all kind of like, you and me and Deadwood and Hades, we were all kind of like talking trash with each other about who's finished what. And I think you had got like all the factions like 2 weeks before me, and then I finished, and then the other people
Right.
like Deadwood stuff started finishing. But anyway, okay, so yeah, we're starting to diverge a little bit. That was our biggest. I actually did have Ogren up at number 6. But I tended to agree with you. I think I said we were close when you said Ogren was 11, but 6 and 11's kind of far apart. But I think you made a good point. I think you kind of convinced me on that. I think you were more right than me on Ogren. I think I should have lowered Ogren a little bit. But okay. Then, so you said we were on 10. What's your number 9?
Yeah. Okay. So number 9, I had Sacred Order. So it was close, I guess, with you.
Yep.
So I think that Sacred Order is much easier, especially with the amount of champions available for Sacred Order. Just the sheer amount now at this point. Well, maybe when I cleared it, we didn't have so many epics, but now there's so many in there, and especially Godseeker Neri. I'm looking at her. I have her on my free to play. There's Deacon Armstrong. Even that guy Lodric, Falconheart, the newer ones can be pretty good carries. And then we have some rares that are good in there as well in terms of support. And of course we've got Armiger, which I did use actually. Even though I always say about Armiger, I did use him when I did clear.
I think I did too. I think I still use Armiger on my stage 21 farming team.
Right, just because of that block revive, if I remember correctly. I think I needed block revive for that one, or maybe I'm thinking of some other boss in Faction Wars. But does the boss revive the ads? Just couldn't remember.
So Sacred Order is gonna be the blue boss. What is the blue boss? I don't even know if I remember that. I can try to look it up here.
I just can't remember, but in general, I mean, Armiger helped a ton because of the reduction.
I'm definitely not looking this up. I remember it, but the blue boss, A1 attacks all enemies, A2 revives all dead allies with okay. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
I totally remembered that. Okay, so, but at least, hey, I remembered it was the blue boss at least. So there's cool. That. Okay, so yeah, Sacred Order you had at 9, right? Okay, so then let's move into your number 8, and we were in agreement on Sacred Order for sure.
Yeah, I had 8. I had Dark Elves.
Wow, we are just killing it. Yep, we're within 1 again. I had Dark Elves at 9.
Right. Okay. Dark Elves, I think. In terms of rares, they've got so many rares that can support you through it. And then the epics, if you have pretty much, I won't say any of those, but if you have any of the good ones, you'll have solid support there. Sylar is just great. Caden, the newer epic, is great.
That's what did it for me.
Series.
Them releasing Caden is what moved them kind of down to that like easier tier around, because I had him at 9th, you had him at 8th. Without Caden, honestly, I probably would have had him at like 6th or 7th. Like just that one addition, having that like more accessible revive champion, because revive's so important when you're trying to 3-star Faction Wars. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, it makes a ton of a difference. And the Cold Heart's just there for the damage, I guess, at the end of the boss.
Cool. So let's recap really quick, because I forgot to write it down. 13 was High Elf for you. And by the way, I'll show our charts and how they combine at the end, and then I'll combine it into one chart here where it kind of takes into account the averages. Then it was Barbarians. You had it 12. And what was your 11 again?
Ogren.
Yep. Okay. And then your 10.
Undead Hordes.
And then your 9.
Sacred.
Yep. And then your 8 was Dark Elves. Yep. Okay, cool. So then we're on your number 7.
So number 7, I had Orcs.
Okay, we're close.
But I was very close with another faction. But I put Orcs in there as the halfway point, just because of the fusion for Krila. That's what made it so easy for many players. Had Krila, and she combines so well with Seer. Those two together make it so easy to go through waves. If you just you know, just slowly go through them and rotate through their skills, get lucky a bit with Relentless. It just takes you through the waves so easily. A shield set Krila and a Seer makes it so easy to go through. I know these are hard champions to get. One legendary, one a void epic. But
The
even Zargala.
Iron Brago fusion as well. Yep.
Yeah, Iron Brago, if you got him recently. Sandlashed, Rask. It's just huge in there for 21. For 21,
Yep.
You need that healing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. And now we've got champions like Duke, who's great, decrease defense, attack down. So it has a ton of carry champions that you can use to go through it.
You're right. It has gotten easier. It's slid down the board a little bit. I had Orcs at 5. You had it at 7, but I tend to agree with you. I maybe could justify moving it to 6 or so. I think you made a good point there. So I think you've convinced me on Ogrins and Orcs to maybe move them down 1 or 2. So yeah, okay. Then let's move into your number 6.
Battle Lords.
Okay. Yep. I had him at 8, but that basically, my Ogrin and Orcs is what made up for that. But yeah, okay.
For this difference, yeah. I had Battle Lords just because, honestly, of Stag Knight, which is unfair. It's unfair for players who weren't around during the Battle Pass.
Yeah.
Because he was basically a reward from that one. But with the Doom Tower currently released, the normal Doom Tower, and the availability of Archmage Helmut, I think it's easier now to get a good champion in there. Well, for free, but I mean, it takes effort. It means you beat the normal Doom Tower and you've beaten it at a good amount so that you can pick up fragments for
the secret rooms.
Yeah, for fragments for this guy. Yeah, and there's a ton more epics that are solid supports, and not really any rares. Maybe Dagger, the newer one, is good for the decreased defense.
For how many rares they have, they really lack in rare quality. But yeah, Dagger, the new one, they finally at least got something.
But the uncommon Commander, is so good in there. Her kit is just amazing for healing and providing Terminator boost. So I actually did use her for my own team for 21. And once I got a few more legendaries, I was just using almost all legendary team in there in the end.
Yep, Commander.
When I did get all the legendary.
Commander is good for an uncommon, for sure. Definitely, that's a good point. All right, then you're number 5. We're into the top 5 now.
So here is where I had Lizardmen.
Okay.
I consider that a bit more difficult than all the others. Because for me personally, Lizardmen was easy. But when I did some takeovers for other players, it's way harder if you don't have any legendaries. If you have 0 legendaries, not a single one, it becomes way harder to control the waves, to go through it. You'll need to have at least Basilisk. It makes a ton of difference to have Basilisk. So you need very specific champions, and there's not that many in this faction. There's 31 champions, and it becomes hard, I think, if you don't have those. You definitely need Basilisk. You might even need to fuse Broadmouth to do it. And I mean, well, some players are now using Metal Shaper for Scarab. He might be useful. Paraspex is good because of the revive, but I still don't think there's many options out there. There's very specific champions that you need for it. That's why I had it.
I had it lower than you because of Vargal being a fusion, and then you can basically just cheese it with the campaign champion Skullswarm. But you're right, if you don't have any legendaries, it is tough. But they also have the Rosin fusion, so most players are gonna have Rosin's amazing. They've got good epics with Jireg, and then they've released a couple good ones in Quarjan and Aox, and then they have a rare Void that revives. So that's the reasons I had it, but I don't think you're wrong. I think
yeah, it's a good point with the but like comparing the amount of epics that this faction has to all the others.
Cool. Okay.
It's yeah. And where are we at?
We're at
Final four.
Yep, top four. You're number four.
All right. So this one I had, surprisingly maybe for you, Demonspawn.
Okay, Demonspawn. I had Demonspawn at 7, so we're not too far off. 4 and 7.
Not too far off, yeah. I had Demonspawn as one of the harder ones because of well, just you again need some specific champions, but once you get one or two of them, it's okay, it's doable, but still you need some of the epics to go through it. You can't just go through it with rares. You need some of the epics. Allure becomes amazing in there. For me personally, I had Duchess in my team. I had Cadraphone. I had Allure. I had everybody geared to actually go through it with ease. So I found it quite tough, and I leveled up Umbral for it, and it takes some effort to go through. So I consider it one of the more difficult ones.
Okay. Yeah, they definitely have really bad rares. Like they got Abyssal now, who's a decent one. A stun set wearer that can kind of help you with CCing some of the waves. Wasn't Umbral a fusion?
Yeah, she was a fusion.
But they've got pretty solid epics with Umbral, Padma, Tarshan, Ashok, Tynax, Allure. And then the legendaries are really good. Kymar, Duchess.
Yeah, Tynax is also daily login, right? So maybe that's.
Yep, and Tynax is so good as a login for faction wars. Which is why I had him a little bit lower, but we weren't too far off. 4 and 7.
I haven't used her, honestly. That's why I didn't have an opinion of her, maybe to make Demonspawn in a different place in the list. So maybe that's what makes our positioning so different. So final 3.
Yep.
Number 3 for me is Dwarfs.
Yep. Okay, I had them at number 2.
Dwarfs.
Yep.
Number 2. Bottom 3, the 3 hardest ones was again hard choice. But the Dwarves now we're getting new champions with every release of champions. We're getting now Brogni on Tuesday we're gonna get Brogni, who will be a huge support for there. But a few months ago, I would have said Dwarves was number 1 in terms of difficulty because of how much effort you needed to put in there for the rotation of skills. The gearing would have been specific. Pretty much, if you didn't have Rearguard Sergeant, no way you would have finished it by now. But now we've got Melga for support, and it makes things easier. I think I used Gala for my own team to actually beat it, but it's getting easier now with the introduction of newer epics.
Yeah, for sure. Melga made it way easier because the dwarves do the red boss, and the red boss is the one that just ignores all defense and one-shots you on the A1. So yeah, you basically need revive. So you need like Maui or Melga or something. So yeah, definitely we're in agreement on dwarves. We both had it at 2 and 3. So then we're on your number 2.
Right. My number 2 is, I think, the one you have at number 1.
Okay.
Because I remember which one you had.
Yeah, you're right. You're right then. You're right then.
The last one in terms of finishing it off. So I had Knights Revenant at number 2.
Yep. That was my number 1. I still get shivers down my spine about Knight Revenant. Man, the hardest thing I've ever done in Raid on my main account was finishing Knight Rev. It was awful. Those Valkyries. Oh. And
you were making...
Dwarves Knight Rev have no buff strip. None.
Right.
So
right.
The Valkyries put up those counterattacks and they just slaughter you.
See, you didn't have the dedication that I had. Just go in there enough time with a stun set on Sinesha and you'll get through it.
Yeah.
The odds might not be too high, but eventually you'll get like triple stuns every time.
But yeah, if you don't have Hegemon or Solus, you just basically like can't deal with them. So you just gotta like brute force it. Now they've released Rector, which was a huge help. But yeah, you know, Doom Priest, Senesha, and then you got to have one of those crucial champions to deal with the Valk, or just brute force it with RNG. But again, we're on the same page. We're within 1. You had it at 2. I had it at 1.
And the boss is also one of the harder ones, so you need damage as well as having control. So it's not only going through the waves with the stun set and just hoping for the best on the boss. The boss actually has like a timer on it, so you need to bring the boss down pretty much.
You see some people use faceless. See people use faceless to bring it down the boss.
Yeah, that's why I had faceless there for damage. And I think I did Miscreated Monster, Sinesha, Doom Priest, Faceless, and I think I had Tomb Lord as well. So it wasn't. I didn't use any rares for it. So I think that was my team.
I didn't either. Yeah, they don't have great rares really. They have very like niche kind of special rares. But okay, you're number 1, I believe, and I have been cheating and writing it down, but as long as I don't have some oversight, I'm trying to look at what's missing. I think it's Skinwalkers, right? That's the one that you haven't gone over yet?
Skinwalkers, right. It's the same as I was talking about, Lizardmen. This faction has 27 champions in it. 27. And you're supposed to beat faction wars with them. I know even the rares are good, but the options are so limited that if you don't have at least one of the epics and a good amount of just sheer will and dedication to go through it, it's gonna be so hard. I did a takeover recently, and I had a Steel Skull with a Relentless set at 270 speed to actually beat it. I found it extremely difficult without having that control there and having some sort of high damage. And the high damage that I had was actually Steel Skull with the poisons. I had 2 Bushers and Gnarlhorn.
I was gonna say they have your favorite champion, Gnarlhorn.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I was said the rares are good. Like Greybeard and Gnarlhorn are great. But they just don't have any damage. Gnarlhorn is just there to eat up the first 2 waves, just provoke. And then on the boss, he does nothing. Pretty much. So yeah, that's why I thought it was the most difficult one. For my own account personally, I just had Cornar and didn't realize anything, any kind of difficulty for this one. But for everybody else, I think it was hard.
I had War Chief, so you can basically lock down like 2 of the Valkyries, and I think they actually struggled. If I remember right, there's like a triple Cephalia double Thenasil wave or something. I thought I remember that. Yeah, I thought that remembered, or it's like stage 19, stage 20, something like that. But there's like this triple Cephalia wave that you just can't kill because, like you said, they don't have damage. So they just sit there and heal and cleanse. And yeah, no, Skinwalkers. I had Skinwalkers at number 4. And the only reason I didn't is because they don't have to deal with the red boss, just one-shotting everything. Because they don't really have great revives. So thank goodness they don't go against the red boss, or they'd be just torched. But yeah, I think they go against.
Do they even have any revive?
I don't think they do. But
I don't think they do. No.
I think I'm trying to remember. Do they have to deal with the purple boss, the swap?
Yeah, it's a swap.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
If you don't have any healing, if you don't have Steel Skull,
yeah,
he's like a necessity in there.
Yeah.
And coming back to what I was saying, like the Relentless set, I just got lucky proccing, getting those cooldowns reduced, and then having him at 270. And oh man, it felt so good. Just getting another heal in, feeling a little bit more healthy with my champions, getting a bit more damage, and just taking down the boss. So yeah, I think it was the hardest one.
Yeah. Okay. I had him at number 4. So what I'm gonna do now is give me just a couple minutes. I'll pause this. I'm gonna crunch our list into one and pull it up, and then we'll see kind of how it averaged out and how it changed based off of us both giving our opinion and crunching it into one list. So 1 second. Alrighty, so now I'm back, and it took a few minutes to compile the combined ratings, and this is what we ended up getting when you take into account both of our opinions. The easiest, High Elf and Barbarians, not a whole lot. We were dead on right there. Then after that, it starts to kind of average in. But Sacred ended up at 11, 10 Dark Elves, 9 Ogrin. We had a differing opinion on Ogrin, but it still ended up down there. 8 Lizardmen. You had both those a lot higher than me, so drug mine down. Banner Lords, then Undead at 6, 5 Orcs, 4 Demonspawn, 3 Skinwalkers, and then 2 Dwarves, and number 1 Knight Rev. So how's it look? Did your perspective change at all, or did it come out about how you thought, or?
Yeah, I think the list came out as I thought in the beginning. Maybe Undead was like a good. It would have been better for me to put it at a higher place, a bit more difficult than I thought. So I guess this is, the list that you just did is better in that sense. And then everything else seems about right. Maybe Skinwalkers for me feels harder. Maybe Knights Rev for you feels harder. But definitely top 3. The top 3 is, I would say everybody else would agree as well. That top 3 is. It's that one. Maybe number 1 or number 2 is different for everybody else, but even the viewers down in the comments would say that's going to be the top 3.
Yeah, I think you'd it looks about right. I think you would just break it into tiers. Like the 1 through 3 is its own tier, and then 4, 5, 6 is its own tier. And then within those tiers, you can swap them around. Like you could argue Undead should be 4th. You can argue Skinwalkers should be 1. So I would say 1, 2, 3 are their own tier. 4 through 6 is its own tier. And then probably 7 through 11, honestly, is its own tier. And then the bottom tier is Barbs and High Elf. Like, I would break it into those 4 tiers. 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 11, and 12 and 13.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I would say definitely the easier ones are Barbarians and High Elves. Unless High Elves, you've got absolute worst luck. But still, I wouldn't say it's harder than Sacred or Dark Elves. Just because of Arbiter, you'll eventually get her, and she'll help a ton with the revives and the healing and everything.
Yeah. I'm surprised Bannerlords ended up that high, because you had Bannerlords at 6 and I had Bannerlords at 8. So yeah, it did end up at 7. But yeah, you could almost make another tier of Bannerlords and Lizardmen. They could almost swap. Like either one could be 7 or 8. So yeah, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 and 8, then 9 through 11, and then 12 and 13. And then within those, you could have different swaps. But yeah, I think that's pretty close. I think that's more accurate than mine. I think you made some good points and convinced me on a few different things. But yeah, thanks for joining me. And anything you want to say on the way out?
Not really. I'm thinking about Shadowkin and what's gonna make it, easier, or what kind of boss they're gonna have there. Is it gonna be a new boss that maybe is for the the three factions that we have down in Ryzen Union? That one, is it going to be a brand new boss? It's just going to be one of the same ones that we have already. Who knows? But well, I do have Yoshi right now, so I think I've got a good base of champions so far. I've got like 2 of the epics. I've got Yoshi, and then we're gonna get some more, I guess, in the future before they bring in the boss. I guess until we get about 30 Shadowkin, we won't have the Shadowkin faction open.
Oh, are they? Yeah, because do we know when it's going to open?
No, we don't know, but they said they'll tell us.
And
when it does open, and it does affect Lydia.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they'll probably give us like a month heads up or something, you would think, but
hopefully at least a month.
Yeah. If it's going to affect Lydia, I would hope they would let the people that are close like really push for it. Okay.
That's right.
Cool. Well, it's fun as always, brother. I know it we went a little long here, but it was fun to have this conversation and get a list ironed out here about Faction Wars.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. It was good hearing your thoughts on Faction Wars. I know you had some hard time with it. I came over to your stream, helped you out. I even gave you some tips for Night Rev, and you finally beat it.
I'll be editing that out. So that's the good thing about being in control. I could edit that out when you troll me in my own video. All right, brother. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, see ya. All right, it's going to do it for this one. Always a good time to sit down and chat with Cold Brew. Now, you should definitely check his stuff out if you haven't already. I will link to his channel down below in a pinned comment. Nice and easy to find. He puts out a lot of good stuff about Raid and some other games as well. So that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.